Welcome to the Sephardic Anusim Center of the Americas, our historical exhibition here in the Ramat HaNegev Regional Council in the heart of the Negev. This is a portrait here, a mannequin of the Prophet Obadiah, who cites the exiles of Jerusalem who were in Sepharad, actually he said that are in Sepharad, shall return and occupy the Negev. Another version says, shall possess the Negev. The first thing we find here is how Jews became initially Sephardic. It was during the time of King David and King Solomon. They had a very wonderful actual relationship with King Hiram of the Phoenician Empire, which is in the area of today's Lebanon. And they would send fleets of ships, that is Hiram and Solomon, to Tarshish, which is actually the land of yellow jasper, ancient Spain, Tarshish, or ancient Sepharad. He would send for gold, silver, peacocks, pomegranates, exotic fruits and animals. And you can see here the map as to the direction of how they would move from the areas of Israel, as you can see there, west across the Mediterranean to Spain, Iberia, every 3 years, back and forth. They created a social system or social structure of all sorts on both the European side as well as a North African side. They had other routes, but I won't go there for today. It was the days of the Temple of Solomon, where it is believed, some scholars believe that much of the gold that he brought from Sepharad, from ancient Tarshish, was used for his temple, Solomon's temple. But when the kingdom divided, actually about close to 200 years after Solomon's death, then we see the Assyrian Empire coming and plundering and massacring and taking exiles from the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, into Assyria. And then a few hundred years later, about in 586 before Common Era, they're taken in the Babylonian kingdom. The Nebuchadnezzar takes exiles into Babylon, destroys King Solomon's temple, and then we see, of course, that later the decree was given for the Jews to return, and we'll get to that part of the story, to return to Israel. But many did not return to Israel to reconstruct Jerusalem and the temple, but actually many of them fled to Tarshish, or which would be ancient Sepharad, which is Spain. So there were big troubles. The Jews had to endure centuries and centuries of hostility in Spain during the Roman Empire and the Roman Catholic Church. We know, many don't know, that actually it was the Spanish Jews that were the contributors, the genius, if you will, behind the Spanish Golden Age that affected Spain in a tremendous way. Revival of sciences, philosophy, medicine, the arts, humanities, translations, and so forth. It was a time of great economic prowess, opulence. Meantime, was the brewing of the Spanish Inquisition was growing. Jews of Spain were forced to convert. They were being forced to be baptized by force. Some did not and fled into North Africa and other parts of Europe, heavily into North Africa and Mediterranean countries. They were forced, and if they did not repent and did not confess, they would be tortured and in many cases burned at the stake alive or through other methods. We come to a narrative of Queen Isabella, La Católica, the Catholic, and she was very devout, to say the least, Queen Isabella. Very devout. That's why they called her La Católica, the Catholic. Her personal confessor was Tomás de Torquemada, who happens to have been the Inquisitor General of the Spanish Inquisition. Her husband, King Ferdinando, King Ferdinand. And in any case, every case where there is a portrait or a painting, there is a narrative story. Here we have Cristobal Colon, Christopher Columbus. His name, it is believed, was really Cristoforo Colombo, and it is firmly believed, at least we believe, that he was a Sephardi or Sephardic Jew. He's La Santa Maria ship, one of the main flagships in his fleet. We believe that Christopher Columbus was a Jew for many reasons. One is that his wife, his mother-in-law confessed to the Inquisition that they were Jews. And because of certain things that he stated in his memoirs, in his writings, this is Tomás de Torquemada, the Inquisitor General, as I said a while ago, of the Spanish Inquisition. He was a fierce man of the Dominican order. He was an expert in torture. He was an expert in torture. He was an expert in humiliating and dehumanizing souls. He actually drew up in Avila the manual for procedures of interrogation and the like. This is a history in a nutshell of the Spanish Inquisition. Spanish tribunals, high tribunals, kind of like Supreme Courts, but actually public areas of humiliation throughout Spain, northern and southern Spain. This is a list here of the various, or the many inquisitors, general inquisitors, main inquisitors in Spain. Methods of humiliation and torture, to say the least. The headquarters in many cases was in a place which was, we'll get to in a second, called La Casa Santa. Portugal also had an inquisition, and King Manuel II also expelled the Jews from Portugal about 3 years after that Spain expelled the Jews from Spain. This is what's called the Edict of Grace. Once an inquisition was established in a certain city, the inquisitor summoned everyone over 12 years of age to attend Mass and to repeat the Edict of Faith or Edict of Grace aloud. Spain actually is a birthplace of crypto Jews, hidden Jews, hidden, tucked away, in hiding. We see here what's known as San Benito. San Benito is that vesture here of humiliation. Ugly, as you can see for yourself. Different vestures that they had, depending on the crime, alleged crime that they had committed. What was the crime? That they were Jews. The crime was that they kept Torah, they kept Sabbath, they kept the biblical feasts. Here's another portrait of a vesture of the San Benito that they were forced to wear publicly. This is the burning at the stake of Mariela de Carvajal in Mexico City. And we'll get to the Mexican Inquisition shortly, because many people do not know that there was a Mexican Inquisition as well. Not only there, but also throughout almost all of Latin America, that is Central and South America. Autos de fe, which was the act of faith, forced conversions. Forced conversions.